I remember that night like it was tattooed on my skin. The glass of the hotel window was cool against my cheek, the city lights bleeding into the room in streaks of gold and red. His hands were gripping my hips, not letting me rest, not letting me slow down. My body begged for pause, begged for stillness, but he wasn't done, not with me. I whispered, "I can't anymore," but he only pressed harder, his voice low and husky behind me. "You can. You're mine tonight. Keep going. You keep me alive." And so I did. Even through trembling knees, even with sweat dripping down my back, I pushed, I moved, I breathed through exhaustion. I became his fuel, his fire, his lustful propeller. And somewhere deep inside, even while my body screamed for rest, I felt the thrill of being wanted beyond reason. Wanted until there was nothing left of me. Her voice softens, breaking the fourth wall. But before I let you drown in this confession, let me say this. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it. Because what I'm about to tell you, nobody else knows. Not my husband, not my friends, not my family. Only you. Only here. This is my truth. My sin. My exhaustion. And my secret fire. How it all began. I wasn't always this woman. You see, I was once the classic suburban wife. 2 kids, a husband with a steady job, a house with beige walls and a backyard that needed mowing every weekend. I cooked dinner, helped with homework, cleaned up mess after mess, and tried my best to keep my smile wide enough so people would believe I was content. But I wasn't. There's a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. It's the kind that burrows into your chest, where the days blur into nights, and you forget when the last time was that someone touched you not out of routine, but out of hunger. My husband loved me in his own way, but it was always functional. A peck on the cheek, a quick roll in bed once or twice a month, then back to snoring. I craved something I didn't even want to admit to myself. Not romance. Not love. No. I wanted intensity. I wanted to feel like I was falling into fire, like my body still had the power to make someone lose control. I didn't find it at home. I found it in him. The first glimpse. It started like all dangerous things do, innocent enough. He wasn't a stranger exactly, but he wasn't supposed to be close either. He was someone in my orbit, someone I should have kept at a safe distance. Let's just call him Daniel. Daniel was nothing like my husband. Where my husband was steady, Daniel was unpredictable. Where my husband was routine, Daniel was chaos wrapped in charm. He had this way of looking at me, like he could see through the clothes, through the practiced smiles, right down into the part of me I tried to bury. I still remember the first time his hand brushed mine. It was accidental, or at least it was supposed to be. We were standing side by side, talking about something I can't even remember now, and his fingers grazed my skin. Just that. A small thing. But it was enough to send a shiver straight up my arm and into my chest. I should have pulled back. I should have kept my distance. But instead, I let my hand linger just a second longer than necessary. That was all it took. The messages. After that, the messages began. At first, casual. Work. Kids. Random daily nonsense. Then, slowly, they shifted. Wish I could see you smile right now. Bet you look beautiful when you're frustrated. I keep thinking about your hands. I knew I should stop. Every buzz of my phone was a risk. But every buzz was also a jolt of life in a body that had been sleepwalking for years. And when he asked me out for a drink, I told myself it was harmless. Just 2 people catching up. Just conversation. I was lying to myself. I knew it the second I slipped on that black dress, the one that hugged my hips tighter than it should. The first kiss. The bar was dim, with music low enough to make everything feel secret. I sat across from him, a glass of wine in my hand, pretending to be casual. He leaned in, close enough for me to smell the whiskey on his breath. You know this isn't innocent anymore, right? He whispered. My throat tightened. I should have said no. I should have stood up and left. But instead, I whispered back, I know. And then his lips were on mine. Fierce. Demanding. My back pressed against the booth, his hand in my hair. That kiss broke something in me, something I didn't even realize I was holding together. I didn't resist. I melted. That night, I didn't go home early like I told my husband I would. I let Daniel walk me to his car. I let him kiss me again under the dim streetlight. And though I didn't cross the final line that night, in my heart, I already had. The first night. It didn't take long after that. A few weeks later, I found myself in that hotel room, standing by the window while the city blinked outside. His hands were on me, his lips tracing my neck, his voice low and hungry. I've waited too long for this, he said. And I, exhausted as I was, gave in. I gave him everything. I let myself drown in his fire, in his relentless hunger. I became the propeller, moving to his rhythm, keeping him alive, even when my body begged to rest. Her voice softens again, breaking the fourth wall mid-story. If you're still here, listening, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. I have more to tell you, and trust me, it only gets deeper from here. That was just the beginning. And beginnings, as you'll see, are always the easiest part. This part will go deeper into how the affair actually ignites and escalates, how she balances the exhaustion of being a wife/mother with the wild fire of her secret lover, and how Daniel starts pushing her beyond her limits. As before. Anonymous female voice. Hook scene confessional tone CTA midway. Mature, detailed, American setting. Long, flowing, 2,000 plus words. Chapter 2, A Body That Betrayed Me. The first time with Daniel wasn't the last, God, no. It was only the spark that set everything else ablaze. What surprised me most wasn't how good it felt. It was how much my body betrayed me, how quickly exhaustion and guilt could disappear the moment his lips found my skin. I was a woman who spent her days packing school lunches, folding laundry, answering texts from my husband asking, "Did you pay the water bill?" My world had been built around routines and obligations. But in Daniel's world, there were no clocks, no grocery lists, no bedtime schedules. There was only heat, chaos, and the sound of my name on his lips. The double life begins. It didn't take long before I was living two lives. At home, I wore my apron, stirred spaghetti sauce, smiled through family dinners. My husband talked about work, the kids fought over TV, and I pretended my mind wasn't somewhere else. But it was. It was always somewhere else. My phone became the bridge between my two worlds. I'd be sitting at the kitchen table helping my daughter with math homework, and then, buzz. A message from Daniel. Thinking about last night. You're addictive. Or worse, send me something. I can't wait till I see you. And there I was, excusing myself to the bathroom, locking the door, my heart pounding as I snapped a photo in the mirror. Nothing too risky, but risky enough. My hands would shake as I hit send. Every time, I told myself it would be the last. And every time, I craved the next. The hotel ritual. We made the hotel our sanctuary. Once a week, sometimes twice, depending on how careful I could be with excuses. I became an actress, fabricating errands, girls' nights, work projects that didn't exist. The truth? I didn't feel guilty, not in those moments. I felt alive. The first few times, Daniel was sweet, attentive, almost careful. But it didn't stay that way. He had this hunger that grew every time we met, and somehow, it infected me too. One night, after hours of pushing my body past limits, I collapsed on the bed, gasping for breath. Daniel, I'm done. I can't anymore. But he wouldn't stop. He knelt on the mattress, hovering over me, his chest slick with sweat. Yes, you can. You keep me alive. You're not done until I am. And here's the truth I hate admitting, my body responded, even when my mind told me to stop. Exhaustion made me weak, but his touch made me surrender. I became exactly what he wanted, his lustful propeller, driving him deeper, faster, harder. The guilt creeps in. The strangest thing about cheating is how guilt doesn't always come when you expect it. It doesn't strike in the hotel room, with your body tangled in someone else's. It comes in the small, quiet moments. Like when I was back home, folding my son's Little League jersey and catching a whiff of laundry detergent mixed with grass stains. Or when my husband leaned over to kiss my forehead before work, completely oblivious. That's when the guilt hit, sharp, cold, sudden. Like a slap in the chest. But Daniel's pull was stronger. Guilt made me cry in the shower. Desire made me dry my tears, put on makeup, and sneak out to see him again. She pauses, speaking directly to the listener. And if you're still here with me, listening to this mess I call my truth, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might understand, and subscribe to this channel. Because I'm not done confessing. Not by a long shot. The night of no return. There was one night that sealed it for me. Made it impossible to ever go back to just being a wife in beige walls. We met at the same downtown hotel, the one with the mirrored elevators and the soft golden lighting that always made me feel like I was walking into sin. I was already tired that day. Work had been brutal, the kids had been restless, and I'd almost canceled on him. But when I saw the look in his eyes as he opened the door, any hesitation vanished. He didn't even let me set my purse down before his hands were all over me. His mouth was hot and hungry, pulling sounds from me I swore I'd never make again. At one point, my legs gave out, I was trembling too hard. But he caught me, pressed me against the wall, and whispered, "Don't stop now. You're mine tonight. Mine until I'm finished." And I let him. Even as exhaustion made my body heavy, even as my mind screamed for rest, I pushed, I moved, I gave. When it was over, I collapsed into the sheets, my skin burning, my body spent. I thought he would let me rest. But instead, he pulled me close and whispered, "We're just getting started." That was the night I realized, this wasn't just an affair. This was an addiction. The morning after. The next morning, I drove home with messy hair and sore muscles, guzzling coffee just to keep my eyes open. My husband asked, "Rough night with the girls?" and I nodded, smiling like nothing was wrong. Inside, I was a storm. Exhaustion, guilt, lust, and a terrifying truth swirling together. Because deep down, I knew, I wasn't going to stop. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could balance the two lives, the wife in daylight and the sinner at night. But Daniel wasn't the kind of man you balanced. He was the kind you drowned in. The problem was, I wasn't just drowning anymore. I was sinking. When the body says stop. It was one of those long weeks where everything seemed to fall apart. The kids had late practices, my husband had been cranky from work, and the house felt like it was swallowing me alive with chores. By the time Daniel texted, "Tonight. I need you," my body screamed for sleep. I almost typed, "Not tonight, I'm exhausted." But my fingers betrayed me, where? What time? So there I was again, slipping into that same hotel, wearing a dress I had no business wearing after midnight. The moment I walked in, he had me pressed against the wall, his mouth hard and demanding, his hands already claiming me. I whispered, "Daniel, I'm too tired tonight, please." He looked at me with that fire in his eyes, that unrelenting hunger. Tired? You're never too tired for me. And he proved it. My body, though aching, still answered his call. My exhaustion didn't matter, because he knew exactly how to pull me past it. I hated myself for it. And loved him more for it. The close call. That night, after he finally released me, I got home close to 3 in the morning. I tiptoed through the kitchen, holding my shoes in my hand. But then, my husband's voice cut through the dark. "You're just getting in. My heart nearly stopped. He was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping coffee like he'd been waiting. Think. My mouth moved before my brain did. Yeah, the girls kept me out too late. We lost track of time. His eyes studied me for a long moment. Too long. And I swore he could smell Daniel on my skin, see the tremble still in my body. But then he sighed, rubbed his temples, and muttered, "Next time, text me so I don't stay up worrying." I nodded, forcing a smile. Inside, I was shaking. That was the first time I realized how close I was to losing everything. The escalation. The close call should have been enough to scare me straight. But Daniel wasn't a man you walked away from, and I wasn't a woman strong enough to say no anymore. If anything, the danger made it hotter. Every time he pulled me into the shadows, I felt the risk in my veins, a pulse of adrenaline that made the lust sharper. One afternoon, we didn't even bother with the hotel. He picked me up, drove us to a secluded spot by the river, and took me in the back seat like we were reckless teenagers. My head kept snapping toward the windows, terrified someone might see. But his hand on my throat, his lips on my ear, his words, "You're mine, no matter where we are," kept me from pulling away. I wanted him everywhere, even if it killed me. Here she pauses, whispering almost directly into the mic like she's sharing a dirty little secret. And if you're still listening to me right now, caught in this storm with me, don't forget, hit that like button, share this story if it makes your heart race, and subscribe to the channel. Because the deeper I go, the darker it gets. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. The aftermath of lust. After those nights with Daniel, mornings became harder. Not just the tiredness, not just the guilt. But the weight of knowing my body belonged to two men. One who wore a wedding ring with me. One who wore nothing but his desire for me. My husband would reach for me in bed sometimes, his touch soft and familiar. And though I'd let him, though I'd close my eyes and play the role of a good wife, my mind would betray me. It was Daniel I saw, Daniel I felt, Daniel I craved. That's when I realized, I was lost. The question I didn't want to ask. There was a moment, after one of our longest, most reckless nights, when I lay on Daniel's chest, too weak to move, too drained to speak. He stroked my hair and murmured, "You drive me wild. I'll never get enough of you." And that's when the question burned in my throat. The one I'd been too afraid to ask. "Daniel, what happens if we get caught?" He chuckled, kissed the top of my head, and whispered, "Then it'll all be worth it." But for me, it wouldn't. Because I knew, deep down, if this ever came to light, I'd lose everything. My husband, my kids, my whole life. And yet, the next time he called, I still went running. Because exhaustion was nothing compared to the hunger he lit inside me. I used to think I was steering this affair. That I was choosing Daniel, choosing the thrill, choosing the release from my marriage. But by the time weeks turned into months, I realized something terrifying. Daniel wasn't my escape anymore. He was my addiction. And addictions don't ask your permission. They own you. The demands begin. At first, Daniel was gentle in his dominance. He'd ask, "Can I see you tonight?" or "Do you have time tomorrow?" But soon, his words became commands. "Be ready at 8. Wear that red dress I like. Don't make excuses. You're mine tonight." And the crazy thing? I obeyed. Even when I was drained. Even when I wanted to curl up in bed and sleep for 12 hours. Even when my kids needed me or my husband was watching me too closely. All it took was the buzz of my phone, Daniel's name lighting up the screen, and I was gone. The second close call. One evening, after another frantic round of making excuses, I rushed to meet him. We barely made it to his car before he had me straddling him, hands gripping me like he was afraid I'd vanish. But then my phone rang. It was my husband. My blood went cold. Daniel smirked, whispered in my ear, "Don't answer. You're with me now." His hands kept moving, his lips on my neck, while my phone kept vibrating in my purse. I wanted to stop. I wanted to push him away. But I didn't. Instead, I let it ring out, knowing my husband would have questions, knowing I'd have to lie again. That night, when I finally went home, my husband asked, "Why didn't you pick up?" I was worried. I smiled weakly, said, "I didn't hear it over the noise." And I hated myself a little more. The exhaustion. Daniel didn't just take my body. He took my strength. There were days I could barely keep my eyes open at work, yawning through meetings, my mind lost in flashes of him. Nights when I'd crawl into bed beside my husband, my body sore, my voice raw, praying he wouldn't notice. I was living two lives. And both were breaking me. But still, when Daniel touched me, exhaustion melted away. His hands became fuel. His lips became fire. His hunger was the only thing that kept me breathing. His obsession. It wasn't just me losing control. Daniel was, too. He started showing up unannounced. Once at my job, once outside the grocery store. He'd text me things like, "I saw your husband with you. I don't like it." Or, "I want more of you. I don't care what it takes." That's when I realized, he didn't just lust after me. He wanted to own me. And God help me, a part of me wanted to be owned. Here she leans in close, voice soft, intimate, like she's whispering straight into the listener's ear. If you're still following me, if you're still burning with me through every dangerous step, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone you know, and subscribe to this channel. Because what's coming next? It only gets darker. The question of love. One night, lying tangled in Daniel's arms, I whispered the words I never meant to say. "Do you love me?" For a moment, he was quiet. Then he kissed me hard, biting my lip, almost punishing me for asking. "Love?" he said finally, his hand tightening on my waist. "No. This is better than love. Love dies. What we have? It doesn't." Those words chilled me more than I expected. Because love had limits. But whatever this was, didn't. The spiral. I should have stopped then. I should have realized I was playing with a man who wasn't just my lover, he was my undoing. But by then, it was too late. Daniel had become the air I breathed, the fire that burned me alive. And no matter how exhausted I was, no matter how guilty I felt, no matter how dangerous it became, I couldn't stop. Because somewhere between pleasure and pain, Daniel had turned me into his lustful propeller, spinning helplessly in the storm of his obsession. And God help me. I didn't want out. There's a point in every affair where you either stop, or you spiral until nothing of you is left. I didn't stop. I spiraled. The final surrender. The last time I saw Daniel, I thought it would be just another night. Another stolen moment. Another lie I'd tell my husband. But it wasn't. Daniel had changed. He wasn't just hungry, he was desperate. His touch was frantic, his kisses bruising, his body crashing into mine like a storm that wouldn't let me breathe. And I gave in. Again. Always. I had nothing left in me, but he didn't care. He didn't want my energy. He wanted my surrender. That night, I gave him all of me, even the parts that should have belonged to my husband, my family, myself. I gave him my ruin. The exhaustion that broke me. By the time I stumbled back home, my legs weak, my voice gone, I felt hollow. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot. My skin glowed with the marks he left on me. My lips swollen, my hair tangled, my soul broken. And still, I wanted him. That's the cruelty of lust, it doesn't care if it destroys you. It only cares that you keep feeding it. His words that haunted me. The last words Daniel whispered to me still echo in my head. "You'll never escape me. You're mine. Always." At first, those words thrilled me. They made me feel wanted in ways my marriage never did. But now? They haunt me. Because even though I walked away, even though I stayed married, even though no one ever found out, Daniel still owns a part of me. A dark, lustful part I'll never get back. Here, her voice softens, almost breaking, drawing the listener close. If you've stayed with me this long, if you've listened to every secret, every dangerous detail, I need you to do one thing for me. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because stories like mine, they happen more than you think. And maybe, just maybe, it'll stop someone before they burn like I did. Why I remain anonymous. You might wonder, why tell this story if no one ever caught me? If my husband never found out? Because silence was killing me more than guilt ever could. I needed someone to know. Even if it's strangers on the internet. Even if you'll never see my face, never hear my real name. I wasn't caught. I wasn't exposed. I chose to confess. Because the truth? I became Daniel's lustful propeller. I let him drive me until exhaustion broke my body, my spirit, my sanity. And I let him. That's my nightmare. That's my secret. And now, it's yours too. The last reflection. Sometimes I lie in bed beside my husband, listening to his soft snores, staring at the ceiling in the dark. I wonder, if he ever knew the truth, would he leave? Would he hate me? Would he forgive me? But then I realize, it doesn't matter. Because Daniel's touch, Daniel's words, Daniel's hunger, they carved something into me I can never erase. I am still married. I am still a mother. I am still living my life. But deep inside, in a place no one can reach, I am forever ruined. Closing whisper. And so, I stay anonymous. I stay hidden. But tonight, you know my secret. My name doesn't matter. Only this does. I became his lustful propeller, despite exhaustion. And I will carry that weight forever. Fire, that's the final chapter, her raw confession, her exhaustion, her ruin, and why she had to stay anonymous.